What's up, everybody? You are tuned into season 2 of the Elks Call presented by Shotgun Sports. My name is Scout, aka the rep from Section X.
And I'm Catherine, aka Do You Even Elks?
And today we are joined by Rick from Ticats Talk Network and co-host of the Canadian Football Central podcast. Rick, thanks a lot for joining us today, man.
Not a problem.
Very, very excited. We have a lot to talk about. Off the top, we'll address the elephant in the room. Elks with a big win over the Tiger Cats on Saturday. And now Chris Jones, our former head coach and GM, is now your defensive advisor, the senior defensive advisor, I believe. What about that, Rick?
So that's how they get away with not paying his salary.
Give him another.
And a big shout out to the Elks for paying his salary for the rest of the season, considering that we have to pay Mark Washington's for the rest of the season.
It's funny, you know, you lose some and you gain some, and apparently we all just help each other out here in this league.
No, it really helped though.
Well, that's going to be a gift that keeps on giving. You know, we'll gladly pay so somebody else suffers with Chris Jones.
Catherine's thinking, okay, you guys can have Chris Jones just beat Winnipeg this week so that we can get points against Montreal.
You know what? I'm okay with that. I would be okay with that. I feel like, you know, Winnipeg is on an upstream and they really need to be taken down in that anyway. So
that could be us.
Yeah.
That could be us.
That could be us.
Oh, very, very exciting. Once again, very thrilled to have you on today, Rick. We're going to dig into this show in just a moment. But first, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, whether you're watching on our YouTube, which is Shotgun Sports Network, or on Facebook, which is the Elks Herd. You could also be listening on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Edmonton Sports Talk, or wherever you get your podcasts. While we're here, if you could hit the like and subscribe, all of that, we would greatly appreciate it. Mm-hmm. All right, we got a stacked show. Who'd have thunk it? Here's today's lineup. We're going to open up with the More You Didn't Know with Rick, where we talk about his life as a CFL fan, CFL podcaster. And then we're going to talk about our teams as well. After that, we're going to dig into Kathy's Herd Report, talking about the latest Edmonton Elks news and transactions, and of course, that last game. Following that, we're going to give you an Edmonton sports update, and we'll cap the show with the fan forum, where we discuss hot topics surrounding the Edmonton Elks, the CFL, and the sports world as a whole. Be sure to blow up the Herd Chat so you can get your comments and questions onto the show. We see the Herd Chat blowing up already. Ryan Messer, Andrea, see you, John Kirby. You guys are all good stuff. Everybody that tunes in, we always appreciate it. So let's kick off this show with The More You Didn't Know, brought to you by the Winnipeg Terminal. Catch the flight with Mike and Joe every week, talking all things Jets and Bombers on Shotgun Sports Network. Wheels up. All right, so in this segment, we're going to talk to Rick about a number of topics here, including our teams and, of course, his CFL fandom. Once again, blow up the Herd Chat if you have any questions or comments, and we'll do our best to get them onto the show. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Question number 1, Rick. We like to get to know our guests right away here on the show. How did you become a Ticats fan?
So I actually live 20 minutes away from the stadium. So I've been, a Ticats fan for a while, but since 2019, it's like the diehard Ticat fan. Mm-hmm. So I've had seasons since 19. As you know, I do. This is my, I think, first year with Carter over on Canadian Football Central podcast. So I was, and then so he also does Bomber videos too. So I'm like, hey, well, you do Bombers, I'll do Ticats. So then that's how I came up with the Ticats Talk Network.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. And we'll get a little bit more information about that, of course. But we do have, well, we're in that topic of you being a fan, and we have a fan question right off the get-go here in the chat.
Yes.
At the Hamilton Tiger Cats play Tim Hortons Field, is there a Tim Hortons there?
So there's actually not a Tim Hortons there, but They do sell Tim Hortons products
Oh,
at the stadium.
God, I'm jealous. You know how many times I've sat there, especially out during the fall and, cold games, and I wish I had a Tim Hortons nearby.
The only thing is, Catherine, like the cups are like this.
And it's
So-
overpriced.
Oh, it is. Everything's overpriced at stadiums. The
But
benefit,
It's a giant Tim Hortons, basically, right, Rick?
it's not really a giant Tim Hortons. It's basically the size like you would have like in concession, like a little tiny concession. But if you bring your mug, your thermos or something like that, you go buy a couple of small coffees or whatnot, use your discount card, and then you put them in your cup, and then there's your full cup of coffee.
I like it.
I love it. I wish, no, we should bring more than the crappy coffee products that they sell there. I don't know. The hot chocolate's not so bad.
That is some shade towards Commonwealth
Yes.
there, Catherine.
There's another comment here right before we get into the next question. Former Ticats quarterback Hayden Moore is a family friend of Ryan Messer.
Nice.
He used to live down the road from there in Alabama.
Crazy. The more
That's pretty cool. The more you didn't know.
The more you didn't know. That's what this segment's here for. All right. Question number 2. What was your favorite game that you've attended? And also, do you attend Grey Cup games?
So with 2019 and 22, I did attend both Grey Cups because they're part of our season ticket package. So it was like a little bit like an extra $200 or something like that for that year. So I've done all East stadiums. This October, I'm actually flying out to Winnipeg, and I'm joining up with my co-host Carter, and I'm going to see the Bombers play Toronto the Friday. Saturday, we're jumping in Carter's car, and we're driving to Saskatchewan 6 hours to go see them play BC.
Nice.
We come back from Regina on Sunday. Sunday evening, I'm going to go check out my Minnesota Wild playing the Winnipeg Jets. And then we fly out the Monday. So we're probably going for like Wednesday to Monday.
That's a good.
And then next year, I'm probably doing the Alberta trip. And then the year after, I'll probably, because BC is always expensive. I was planning on saving BC to the end.
Yeah, that's fair. You know what? I feel like with all these Guinness records that we're seeing popping up, the CFL road trip idea is, really popping up. That a lot of people are starting to do a lot of road trips around the idea of going to different stadiums and visiting.
Well, because with us, you can either drive to Toronto or you can take the GO train. It's probably about half an hour, 45 minutes, depending on how many stops and that. So it's not that hard to do. And then if you go to Montreal or if you go to Ottawa, it's 2-hour drive to Montreal. We did that last year in a weekend. Mm-hmm. And then that's the good thing about the CFL is if you go see Hamilton, you can do Toronto. If you do Montreal and Ottawa, you can do Winnipeg and Saskatchewan, and then Calgary and Alberta, and then you just have the lone BC.
Yeah, that is true, and that's why we wanted to do Grey Cup this year, is because when the Grey Cup is close,
you might as
well. But also, we could also go to a Calgary, and we could also go to an Edmonton. At least that leaves, 3 within the next 10 years, technically, that we could go to. But, Kathy's never been to BC Place.
I've never been to I've been to BC once. That was Princeton, BC, which is a tiny little town that half of it burned when they had all those fires. So technically, I drove through BC. Yeah. And that's been my experience. No Grey Cup experience, no Vancouver experience, no BC experience for me. So this is like a triple one.
Yeah. No, exactly. No, and it's going to be fun. But we do have other sports teams that we cheer for. I think we all do.
I mean, I cheer for Forge. I mean, we've won, 4 out of 5 championships in the Canadian Premier League. We did have the Bulldogs, but then they moved to Brantford because they're redoing the whole inside of First Ontario Cups Coliseum.
Nice. But, and then, what about NFL? Are you a big NFL fan?
To be honest, I could never get into the NFL.
Nice.
and it's CFL's my thing. And then so there's 3 different things I cover. If you besides the during the season, I do the free agent day. I usually take that day off work and I just do like a live stream because it's if you compare it to the NHL, you have the whole off season to do your free agent signings.
Right.
CFL, you probably have day 1, day 2, and then by end of day 2, mostly everyone signed.
Right.
That's fair. Oh, and I mean, it's cool to see all of that other coverage too, right? Like that's Canadian sports leagues. I'm going to say Canadian sports leagues. It's a thing, right? They always miss that coverage. Even, West Coast League, because they're also in the States, you see a lot more coverage. So, yeah, I mean, we got to celebrate our Canadian leagues for sure. And I mean, it's people like yourself that are doing that coverage and helping build that exposure, right?
Definitely. We need more of that in the CFL for sure.
And that's the thing, is that because you guys do one, there's other fans that do them. So we don't always have to just follow all the TSN people to see what the news is out there. Like Catherine has her stuff on here with, news. I have my stuff, like my thoughts. Scout, you have different thoughts than what other people do. And that's, there's more than just, TSN point of view.
There's something really freeing about fan-sided media as well, right? Because we're not tied to agreements. We're not tied to guides and, what we can and we cannot say. Obviously, you're not going to go, and just say everything that is horrible or anything like that. There's obviously ethics and morals that everybody just still has to uphold to. But fan-sided media, there's something very honest and very pure in a way, right, of how everybody approaches it. So it's really cool to be able to get both.
We do have a fan question here from John. Rick, do you go to Toronto Rock games at First Ontario Centre?
So this was the first season that we had Toronto Rock here. So actually, Toronto Rock temporary has moved to what used to be Hershey Center in Mississauga, where the Mississauga Steelheads used to play. But because they moved to Brampton and they're renovating our stadium, they've temporarily moved to Mississauga for this upcoming season, and then they'll be back whenever they're done renovating the inside.
Interesting.
What are Toronto Rock games?
That's National Lacrosse League.
Oh, okay. Clearly.
So, Catherine, interesting note about that. So it's kind of like the CFL refs, because CFL refs only do one game a year, and then obviously they have to come up with side income. There's a player, I don't know what team he's on now, but I went to high school with him. He works, I kid you not, last time I seen him, he worked for Frito-Lay, the chip company, during the week. And then he'd fly out on the weekends to go play lacrosse.
Wild.
Because they don't make that much much money as a lacrosse player, unless you're like a veteran player. Like
that's like a couple $100,000 though, maybe.
Like I think it's like $1,200 a week or something like that you make. Like you don't make.
It's not that much, no.
No.
There's not a lot of exposure, really. I mean, I didn't even know what lacrosse was for the longest time. And even now, it still takes me a little bit. I think recently I was watching it on TV and I'm like, what's that funny little sport that they're playing?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Andrea here in the chat, lacrosse is fun, and you're making some good points here, Rick. So it's always good to see the...
And then we're hoping that once... because right now they've torn out all the seats in the arena, everything, like everything's torn out. So they said, I know we won't get NHL in there, but we'll either get another OHL team or we'll get another AHL team.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, let's bring it back to the topic at hand. The Hamilton Tiger Cats really won the most recent contest against the Edmonton Elks. However, they seem to take multiple mistakes that seemingly cost them the game. So what's your thoughts on that last Saturday's game?
Well, Here's I'm gonna try to flip this because I want your guys' perspective on something. Hold on. So that Luther hit on the first play.
Mhm.
Do you guys deem that clean, or do you guys think that should have at least been a penalty?
I personally, you know what? I did see it, and to me, it did seem like a clean hit itself. It was the way that his neck snapped back
Mhm.
with the momentum. That was personally how I saw it.
Yeah.
I didn't think that it would require any sort of like double take or perhaps a penalty.
And then the other one was the Taylor Powell helmet to helmet.
Yeah, and see, and like that Taylor Powell, like the reason why it was clean is because it was on a bit of a rushing play, right? He was rushing, he was out of the pocket, he's gone past the line of scrimmage. So I can understand that. At the same time, I have seen Michael Riley get the play extended
Right,
by
something like that.
a targeting, more of like a targeting hit, right? And I think that's what we're looking at there is this targeting, is this spearing? Are they trying to lead with the crown of their head just to like make that hit? And I mean, had it been called, I would say that you can't overturn it. So it's one of those where if it didn't get called, it's hard to argue the other side. But I could, if I'm in your position, if I'm a Ticats fan watching that, I'm crying for every single flag because you're obviously losing two guys in the game due to some heavy hitting. And I will say the Edmonton Elks, that is the hardest those guys have hit for years. In my opinion, like they were definitely playing for an owner. It looked like they were playing for their new owner that day.
Yeah.
So if I'm in your shoes, I'm very frustrated that nothing did get called. But at the same time, I don't think it was glaring enough. And I mean, hey, we'll gladly admit when it's an obvious penalty, right?
And I think I was even looking for it too, right?
Yeah.
The position of his hands, if there was any sort of grabbing, if there was any sort of face mask, if there was any sort of anything that could point to something that was a little bit more than just positioning, bad mistake, just an accident, whatever.
So to go back and answer your question, Catherine. So my big thing is penalties. Because I mean that's the second game in a row we've had, like we average probably 80 to 100 yards a game. And the other thing that drove me nuts the most is Mark Washington does not like to play man. He plays a lot of zone. And if you see the games, they will line up 15 yards off the line of scrimmage. And then by the time they throw, like you do a little quick route, there's already either, 2nd and 2 or a first down.
Yeah. Oh no, and
we had the same issue.
Oh yeah,
especially with MBT, what he was in.
Yeah,
third quarter. There was a lot of zone coverage rather than man.
Yeah, third quarter. I mean, Hamilton diced us up there pretty good. It looked like Hamilton was going to come all the way back.
Oh, I was scared during that one for sure.
And unfortunately, it was a matter of the Ticats shooting themselves in the foot. Bo lobbing balls. Bo was lobbing them. You can tell that he doesn't have that arm strength. He can't dart it in there anymore. So he wants to get the distance, right? And you could tell where it bit him a couple times, but also the penalties. Like you guys took flags on, seemed like
everything.
Play, man.
I was actually watching an Ticats Audio Network video today back when Ron Hitchcock played. And what they did is for every dumb penalty you took, you had to put $100 in the jar. And then teams would be going out for lunch with that money. If you have an incentive like that, people aren't on the team aren't going to take dumb penalties because it's going to cost the money.
True.
I love it. I think everybody should be implementing that.
Bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it
everybody.
back.
It's like a swear jar, but for penalties.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, some form of accountability, right? And I think that's why the Edmonton Elks, when they came out so hot in that first quarter, first half, they looked like they were playing for somebody to sign their checks.
Yeah, it was very textbook.
It was textbook.
Very textbook.
The hits were heavy, the hits were hard, but they were completing tackles. It was just good defensive play, and then it just went and fell apart. So, but getting back to it here, let's talk about these Ticats a little bit more. They seem to be struggling just years after a Grey Cup appearance. What's happening in Hamilton? Can they salvage this season?
Well, I mean, we always for some strange reason, like upper management always likes to go after other teams' free agents. If you look at it, like how many Toronto players do we have on this team?
Right.
Quite
But it seems like if you look at all of our seasons, except for the 15-3 season we had in 2019, we always seem to struggle in the first half, and then once Labor Day comes, that's like our actual season.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're paying over, I want to say roughly $1 million for our offensive line.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot.
Yeah, that's quite a bit.
Joel Figueroa has been the biggest bust I've seen. We're paying because you think about it. If you're paying a guy like 110, 125,000, he started the year on 6 game, comes back for 1 game, and now he's back on the 6th game, and he spent most of last season on the IR.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and Joel Figueroa, former Edmonton Elk,
And he was with BC.
And he was with BC. I believe he went over did he go over when Mike Riley went over? Michael Riley?
I think he may have started with you guys. He came to us, went to BC, and then he came back to us.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that would make sense. So you know what? He would have been over there like 2021, 2022, maybe somewhere around there. So no, Joe Figueroa, I mean, he's decent, but he's also an example too of a player that's hitting the wrong side of 30, right?
And here's the other thing. So a lot of people put blame on Zach, or I was going to say Zach Claris, but wrong team, on Bo Levi Mitchell. But the guy's leading in yards. He's leading touchdowns. Okay, I can see your point in blaming him for the interceptions, but he's not the one that's given up 40-plus points a game.
You know, that feels a lot like MBT. Because that's the thing, MBT in paper, technicalities, and not technicalities, technically, he is a really good quarterback, right? He's got great, fantastic numbers, but then he just absolutely crumbles.
Critical moments.
With the O-line that we currently have and in critical moments, right? So we feel you on that one. It's a little frustrating when you have somebody that is technically good and then it doesn't really translate.
And then if you look at it, who would have thought, like, come training camp, like, no one knew who Samar Bridges was. And then if you go and look at the numbers, he's like 4th in receiving.
Yeah. No, he's the Ticats do have some good pieces. It just I think they're in a bit of a rebuild now. And it doesn't feel like it was very long ago that the Ticats were a good team.
And it's not even that, Scout. There's no voice on this team.
Yeah.
Like, you got to remember, Simone just spent 10, 12 years with us. Yeah. He retired, and he was the voice on defense.
Yeah.
You don't have that voice.
21. Yeah, Simone Lawrence, also former Edmonton Eskimo.
Comes around.
We're trying to make a point here. Okay. So
let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to Elks because we have salty people over here in the chat. Too much Tiger Cats talk.
Hey, no, but it's nice to know what's going on elsewhere in the league, okay? Because we don't get that insight unless, of course, you watch Canadian Football Central podcast. But yeah, let's bring it back to Elks.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on the 2024 Elks? Rick?
I definitely did not expect Rankin to do as well as he did this past game. Because now you think about it, okay, so now you have Kevin Brown coming back. Then you have Javon Leake. You have Rankin. You can't, I'm sure, have you guys done 2 running backs every game or just recently?
I want to say recently because usually you have Tanner Green in there at fullback. So we got decimated at fullback. So then I think we started playing,
which seemed to work. With
it did.
It was.
It's been working.
It's been working for the past 3 games.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, like, now that Kevin Brown's back, Javon Leake will be here, and no, I'm saying like when Leake comes back from injury, now you have 3 running backs.
Right.
But here's an interesting point for you: playing the GM hat on, that trade in the summertime for Kenneth Curly Gittens Jr. for
Jake Serezna.
yeah. Do you guys do that trade again, or do you guys keep Serezna?
I like that. I answered mine on the Canadian Football Central podcast, so you guys can go check out my answer over there on their show. But Kathy, what you got?
I want Serezna back.
Yeah,
100%.
I think for now, let me give an update to mine.
Here's my reasoning.
Oh, sorry.
So the reason why we got Gittens Jr. is because of the chemistry that he has with MBT.
Yeah.
With Trey Ford on QB1, let's say that he continues that position. The chemistry that he has with Gittens Jr. hasn't shown yet. We've seen him throw to the likes of Leak, to the likes of Mitchell, to the likes of the other one that I keep forgetting. There you go. Thank you.
Gino.
Right? So it feels
Mitchell.
like we have a lot of the receiving core that we have is really great. And Ford is able to work with a lot of them. And why shouldn't MBT should be able to work with all of them as well? So if I was to reverse that trade, yes, I would. Because I don't believe Gittens Jr. is necessary for this.
And see that's my whole thought process. Like, Scout, I'll just use you as an example. So we're both quarterbacks. You know, you have your certain wide receivers that you like to go to, and then I like my wide receivers that I like to go to. You go to put the second one in. Now the people that are, you know, the Geno Lewises that don't get many catches with Ford, but he might get it with MBT. Now it's like, okay, now Ford's throwing to his guys instead of getting the top receivers the ball.
Yeah, and we do kind of see that when the quarterbacks switch out. You can kind of see, you know, it was really interesting and great to see MBT go to Geno immediately off the top in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately he was going to Geno, and you can tell that Trey Ford and Geno have some really good chemistry. For whatever reason, MBT Dylan Mitchell was a big connection. So, you know, you recreate some of those relationships, you build them. And I mean, in this case, seems like, you know, Curly Gittens Jr., he's been a good plug and play for both quarterbacks, but I think he does get a couple more plays off of MBT.
Yep.
So you can see that, but they are also meshing really well. We have really good depth at wide receiver. Forbes Bonblow, like, haven't seen him in a hot minute. There's certain players that, like, we still got players on the wide receiver depth chart still that we can utilize. So it's cool, but I do think that Jake Serezna is a better player. You know,
to be honest, I mean, we're paying players like Geno Lewis
300,000.
a lot of money for them to be able to catch balls from any quarterback that is out there, right? So, yeah.
So, Scout, you mentioned something earlier. You said that, you know, TiCats are starting to go through their rebuild. When you guys, I know you guys are just on like the tail end of yours, starting to get back into the whole slew of things. How long was your guys' rebuild?
Oh, too long. Yeah, I mean, 2019 we were trying to retool. 2021 wasn't supposed to be a rebuild year.
Right.
So 2021 was supposed to be a continuation of the
retool.
Yeah, it's a retool continuation, and it ended up failing. So we ended up going into a hard rebuild as of 2022. That pretty much signaled it. So we're on year number 3 of this rebuild, which we all this has gone on a year longer than what we thought it was going to. Yeah, it just so I mean, yeah, in the CFL it should only take 2 to 3 years. 4 years, maybe.
It would also help if we didn't have a revolving door of players, and if the contracts were a little bit longer, that you could actually do something with them rather than always having to change them.
Yeah,
that's the one thing I don't like about the CFL is you have, you know, and I'll just use, you know, MBT as an example. Okay, so he goes and signs a 500,000 for, we'll just say 1 year. And then he's off the following season with another team. It's like, just sign long-term deals, and then it's like, okay, well, if they don't work out, then you can always release them.
Well, and especially, too, with the way that the CFL contracts are structured, teams can, you know, release a player for whatever cause or at whatever time and not see any penalties from it, right? So it's a weird contract structure. Now, I agree. We've just talked about this in the last couple episodes. The revolving door year in, year out as well of players. That's why people don't buy merch. People are scared to buy a specific jersey.
Player, yeah.
Like, think about how many Kevin Brown jerseys are out there right now, Dean Faithful.
Yeah.
And we aren't saying that we love Kevin Brown. We want him to be on the roster. But to have that depth right now is outstanding. You have guys that are doing things that Kevin Brown can't. You can run tandems, multiple tandems here. There's great things with that. But next year, Kevin Brown might not be on the team. Dean Faithful might not be on the team.
Right.
So that's once again 2 players gone off the roster, jersey hung, not going to be wearing it much, and especially if those guys go on to another team, you're going to miss that. There you go. There's another. You have to go get another jersey now. That's why we get Section X and the Elks shirt on our jerseys.
Just general names.
Nice. Calvin here in the herd chat. Is Hervey hiring Jones recently a favor to Jones, or is he head coach in waiting if Milanovic is fired? That's a good question, Rick. What do you think?
Well, because again, I don't know how much of the Elks herd fans know about this whole Chris Jones thing is because he's being paid by Edmonton Elks because it's Larry Thompson, right?
Yeah.
Larry Thompson bought out his contract, so Larry Thompson's paying him for the rest of the year. So he's not getting paid by us at all. He's pretty much, I don't know if you guys remember, but when Scott Milanovic first came to Hamilton, he was the senior offensive consultant. He didn't really have a job title, just overseeing things. Chris Jones, at the end of this season, he's not obligated to stay. He's not signed beyond this year. So if Ed Harvey doesn't want him at the end of the season, they can just say, okay, you're gone.
Yep.
But keep in mind, if we go back to 2012, Scott Milanovic was the head coach and offensive coordinator. Chris Jones was the defensive coordinator. Orlando Steinhauer was the defensive backs coach. Are they bringing the band back together again?
Yeah, and
I would be careful with that because you had that exact same thought when Chris Jones was initially signed.
Yeah.
Is it going to be another 2015?
Yes.
Are we going to see glory just like the days that we saw before? And then turns out that did not happen.
Well, and I mean, we were really hoping for that. The thing is, I should have wore the Shrek shirt tonight. Dang. The thing is that with that, Chris Jones was coming in at GM, head coach, and defensive coordinator. So he was wearing way too many hats. Also, 2015 was mostly thanks to Ed Hervey at GM. So having no Ed Hervey there and having Chris Jones in that spot instead, brutal. Steve Benassi here is wondering in the herd chat, why the heck wasn't there legal language that prevented Jones from working with any other CFL team until the payout expired?
Yeah.
Who knows? What do you think, Rick?
I mean, the only thing that I would hate to say, so I can see where he's coming, or where that viewer is coming from, because if you think about it, okay, now this year, I don't know how much of your guys' defense or offense playbooks have changed since Chris Jones is gone, but now it's like, okay, now Chris Jones comes to Hamilton. Now he knows what Edmonton, luckily we don't play you guys anymore.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, well, these guys are running this because I used to be their defense coordinator. So it's like this, and this. But what I like the fact is Chris Jones was in Hamilton, I think Friday. Some random fan saw him at a mall. That was weird.
Yeah.
But come Monday's morning's practice, they didn't waste any time. They've already released Kenneth George Jr. Like, he's putting his stamp on this defense for this year. And if you're not up to par with it, you're not playing.
And I think it's so funny. That's why I love X so much, is because you get the breaking news from the world, but like from CCTV. You know, you got everybody's eyes are the CCTV out there. So as soon as there was a Chris Jones sighting in Hamilton, we knew about it. Everybody knew about it. Everybody was talking about it on Twitter, right? And as if, because I was like, it's Ed Hervey though. Ed Hervey. Ed Hervey and Chris Jones don't get along, but at least there's that degree of separation by having Scott Milanovic in at head coach.
But
so yeah, Chris Jones is definitely playing for a job next year. We'll see what he can do. I would say I would not want Chris Jones in a rebuilding scenario like this. I would want him in a retool, maybe not a rebuild, but once again, depending if you have Ed Hervey at that spot, if you have Ed Hervey at GM, and then you got Chris Jones in at head coach, who knows? That's a winning combination, as we know, right? As long as the game doesn't go by Chris Jones, and at least as long as he reinvigorates his game plans, right?
But I mean, even just going back to that comment that I made about Friday, a fan sees him in Hamilton. Like, a fan could just be pulling that out of their behinds. Like, who would have thought? Like, you would think, okay, I'm gonna wait. Because Carter had sent me a text message saying, "Oh, someone's seeing Chris Jones in Hamilton." I'm like, listen, until I hear this from a reliable source, like TSN or something, or someone, big name, I'm not going to believe it. Because anyone can just say, "Oh, I seen, Arnold Schwarzenegger in Toronto riding a bike," which he was.
The CFL is still a fringe league, though, and that's why when you see some news like that, you almost do think it's believable because how many people actually track the news and track, every piece of media and track players. And we have hardcore dedicated fans up here in the CFL.
We do.
Oh, trust me. The moment that Mark Washington, it was announced Sunday that Mark Washington was gone, I had screamed in my house. Everyone in my came running downstairs like, is there a fire? I'm like, no, Mark Washington's finally gone. You go onto the forums.cfl.ca. There is more positive to see Mark Washington gone than negative of Chris Jones being in Hamilton.
And that answers what...
we do have a question by John over here. If you think that Hamilton fans are upset that they have hired.
Why do you think,
Or why?
I mean, as long as he keeps that DC title, I don't care.
Yeah,
totally.
That's what St. John's saying here. If Chris Jones can help turn anything around and be somewhat successful in Hamilton, then I can definitely see someone hiring him just for defensive coordinator alone, which is exactly what you're saying.
Because if you remember, going back to 2019, Orlando Steinhauer was only head coach. That was it.
Yeah.
Soon as he gets the president head coach job, our team starts that slide.
Yeah.
But now... So to answer that previous year's question, so we brought in Paul Boudreau at the beginning of the season, special teams. We got rid of him, brought in another special teams coach. They got rid of Mark Washington, brought in Chris Jones. If anyone else is going to be fired, it's going to be Scott Milanovic. Because, I mean, where else are you going to put the blame? But if something like that's going to happen, it's going to happen in the offseason. Because I really don't want Chris Jones to be head coach and defense coordinator. Even though it works out for some people are just good as defensive coordinators and not head coaches.
Yeah. No, and we're seeing that. We've had to watch Chris Jones try to juggle jobs here for way too long.
Way too long.
Way too long.
But are there any talks in Hamilton of Hervey leaving to come back to the Elks?
That's a good question because we've already speculated this on the Elks call recently. So what do you think, Rick?
I mean, if he wants to go back to the Elks, I'm perfectly okay with that. I want to see, like we were talking before you guys went live, enough with the coaches being reused and recycled. Bring in new blood. Yeah. Bring people up from the CIS, NCAA, from the US, or the Canadian University leagues. Bring in new blood because eventually all these people are gonna retire. You're gonna bring in former players. Here's one for you. Bring in Anthony Cavillo as a head coach next season somewhere.
Well, I think he's right now. I think he's an offensive
coordinator and quarterbacks coach in Montreal. But I mean, he has the experience.
Yep, I agree. Nick Lewis is friend of Shotgun Sports. Nick Lewis is actually down in Calgary this year. Corey Mace coming up, the rise of Corey Mace. So I think we're slowly getting there as a league. We're not quite there yet, though. I do agree. Bring in, some more June Jones types.
Like even Paula Place, he's a good offensive coordinator, horrible head coach.
Yep. As we saw in Ottawa there. Yep. Okay, we'll take one more herd chat question or comment.
We just have here from Andrea. New blood is definitely needed. Can't keep recycling and reusing. I agree.
What I will say though, Scout, is I know you guys went through a dreadful 2 years. I will scream if our rebuild is going to be like that, where we don't win for 2 years.
Don't win at home for 2 years, okay? That was probably one of the craziest 4 years at Commonwealth Stadium, like ever, that I've ever been a part of. I've been a part of the 7 in a row and then 7 losses in a row.
Right.
I've been a part of some pretty crazy seasons. I've seen a 500 season that resulted in no playoffs. I feel like I've seen it all in that building.
And then in the Upper Bowl, you guys are giving tickets away just to get fans in the stadium.
We aren't even giving them away up in the Upper Bowl.
They're not available.
We just
right now.
shut it down up there. It's
No. I'm saying during that losing streak, you guys were giving if we lost to return. But
yes.
Okay, so since you said one more question, I got a question for you both. With the owner's hat on, how do you guys, because right now Upper Bowl's not being used, to get back to that capacity, how do you guys get fans back into your stadium to get more fans in seats?
You win.
They win.
Yeah. Thank you. It's
wins.
We're not even going to talk about a name change topic because I have talked about this a lot lately. The horse has been beaten. The horse is now like burger meat. We're well past that. While yes, sure you do. If you do a name change, you'll get fans in the building temporarily. Sustainable. It's going to be wins, and you combine that with making game day an event again, because game day, it's the same thing, but we haven't seen a good halftime show in years. We haven't had fireworks. We lost fireworks somehow.
I think they still have fireworks at the beginning of the game. Don't they?
Maybe when they run out.
Yeah,
but as touchdown fireworks, I haven't seen a touchdown firework in so freaking long.
No.
So they need to make the game day a real event at Commonwealth Stadium. And Calvin here in the herd chat says it. Winning solves all.
Yep.
Winning cures everything in this business. And right now, the Edmonton Elks on a three-game win streak.
If the Edmonton Elks win against Montreal, the next home game might sell out.
Well, it's the Labor Day
not
rematch.
sell out. It won't sell out. But
Upper Bowl.
the Upper Bowl will open up.
Yeah,
because not only are we on a streak, but then it's always
the Labor Day rematch.
What I think Larry Thompson should try to do is incorporate kind of like what BC's doing and get like some artists to come play, even though some people may leave after it or type thing, but at least, you got ticket sales.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's just like BC earlier in the season with that 50 Cent. They were the talk of the CFL. They had 50 Cent in their building and he opened. He didn't even do halftime. He opened and then he left.
And I think even more theme. I know we're doing really well with the theme nights, but I do remember even that Taylor Swift contest thing that happened. The Swifties. We had a contest that flew a couple of fans to Paris, I think, or something, to win a pair of Taylor Swift tickets. That game was buzzing. It was buzzing. There was a lot of fans and a lot of fans that didn't even like football. They were just there for the contest to win Taylor Swift tickets. Yeah. But at the end of the day, they stayed for the game. At the end of the day, it was more butts to the seats. At the end of the day, there was an opportunity for them to be like, hey, this is fun. I want to come back.
It was more of an event, right? There was a huge reason to get people down to that stadium. You had quite a few people there. And overall, it was great, except for the fact didn't get the win.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if the team can afford any more Taylor Swift.
No. I mean, I don't even know if we can afford Fred Penner like BC recently did. But we are running out of time on the more you didn't know here. Last question from our end, Rick. Oh,
I was going to say, I just want to just bring in one quick thing. I guess Big Fan had mentioned it. So what I'm seeing from fans across the league, this is the whole Chad Kelly thing is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I was telling Catherine this earlier. Fans across the league, there's TiCat fans, Rider fans, that are for every sack, turnover, and fumble, they're donating money to sexual assault, I guess, companies, or I don't want to say fundraisers, but you know what I mean.
Probably nonprofit
Yeah, nonprofit organizations, but that's what they're doing, and I just seen that in there. But yeah, that's what. And I'm going to the game tomorrow, so I'll let you guys know how that turns out. But you were saying that you had a question.
That's absolutely hilarious. I love that. For every fumble, for every
Yeah.
interception.
Oh, there's fans. I've seen them. Some fans are doing $10. Some fans are doing $20. Some fans are even doing $50.
I love it.
I like it. Yeah, that's really good. That is the CFL spirit. That's true CFL
and that's
spirit.
how you turn something that is absolutely negative into something really positive, right? If there's nothing that a fan can do about it, right? Because what are they going to do? They're not the ones in charge of the decision of what happens to Chad Kelly. That's the CFL. They already made a decision. So obviously, there's absolutely nothing they could do about it.
Mhm.
But now they are doing something about it. And they're turning it into such a positive thing that, might as well just let Chad Kelly play for the rest of the season so that he makes everybody else put some money in to help a good cause.
Yeah.
And Scott, you were going to ask me a question. One last question.
One last question, my friend. We know that you're a podcaster with Canadian Football Central, and you do social media admin duties with Ticats Talk Network.
Yes.
Can you please tell us a little bit more about those two groups?
Okay, so Canadian Football Central, we basically do, if you go over and search it up, we do interviews with players.
Nice.
We sit down and we do our preview for the week, our review for the week. Today we just recorded with Nelson. I don't know if you guys have seen him on Twitter. He is the one that's doing the CFL rosters for NCAA Football 25 and Madden 25.
Nelson Hackowich.
Yeah, Nelson Hackowich. We just did all 9 CFL mid-season previews for the season. Over on my TiCats. Oh, we also do some live streams over there.
Watch parties. I got in on one of those recently.
On my channel, I do basically anything TiCat related. So I did a video on the Mark Washington firing. I did a live stream for CFL free agency. I do my game and reactions to things. I do live streams as well. But yeah, that's where you'll find most.
Well, and you guys do fantastic work over there. I got to join you guys for the mid-season report for the Edmonton Elks. So that was nice. It wasn't nice giving us an F, but at that point we hadn't really won much. We did upgrade that to like a D- because we ended up winning one.
We're on the rise.
Catherine, if you want a good laugh, go watch the player interviews, because there is a question that I won't say what the answers are because some of them are interesting. But we always ask a veteran player, what's the weirdest thing that you've signed? There's been car engines.
Oh,
there's been shoes. Like, you'll see the question asked, but there's one odd thing that's been signed, but I won't leave that. You'll have to go and check those videos out.
Watch it. That's a fantastic question. We're always, whenever we have players here, we're like, we gotta make it fun. We gotta think of it. That's a fantastic question.
And it's not even that. Like, you get to know like how they're brought up, like their struggles and everything, what they're like off the field.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cool.
That's what we love for sure. But where can we find you online? What's your tags?
Okay, so on X, I can be found at FMFan9. And then also Ticats Talk Network on YouTube and CFL Central on there as well. And for those Elk fans, there's a Dean Faithful interview as well.
Nice.
Boom, there you go. And there is Dean Faithful fans in the herd chat. So that is fantastic. Fantastic. Do you have any other projects? Anything that you can give us a sneak on?
So I'm not sure of those fans, but if you see Ginger Argo, they're selling these CFL Fight for Cancer patches. They're $5 each. He's selling them. He's an Argo season ticket holder. Also, we are doing you're going to think this is crazy, Catherine. Some fans are getting together to raise money for CFL Fights for Cancer, so we're walking from BMO Field Saturday before Labor Day to Tim Hortons Field in a nice 14-hour walk to raise money for cancer.
That is great.
And that hurts. That hurt me, and I'm not even doing it. The thought of it hurts. That's an amazing cause. That's really good. Kudos to you.
So there's actually, for those fans that want to, there's actually one of the people that are doing the walk. I'm just trying to find. It's Sauve. It's at SAUVE Connor on X, and there's a link to the childhood cancer research in his top pinned comments. He's one of the fans that's doing the walk as well.
I love it.
Perfect.
I love it.
CFL fans fight cancer. I feel like we talk about CFL fans fight cancer almost every week on this show.
I feel like that's the CFL, organization.
But like Catherine mentioned earlier, it's not just doing those Guinness World Records. Like there's all the stuff that they do during Grey Cup, all the money that they do. Like we're doing a walk.
Yeah.
A 65-kilometer walk.
That's crazy.
It's awesome.
That's crazy. Like I think I maybe drunkenly walked for 2-3 hours, and I was dying after it. So, and I had booze to keep me, numb.
Keep you moving. Yeah, well-oiled machine at that point.
So I couldn't imagine. So I'm really excited to see how that goes, and yeah, I'll be tuning in for that one for sure.
Oh yeah, we'll have to. We also know that you and Carter just did some recording today, so. It's already been a long one on you. We won't keep you any longer, man. But Rick, we
appreciate being allowed on the Elks herd. Get those antlers up.
Antlers up. Antlers up. Ginger Argo was on our show, I want to say last season as well. So we got a good family, a good CFL family going. You're part of it. Can't wait to see the next episode from you and Carter over at the Canadian Football Central podcast.
Preview just went up today for this week.
Beautiful. There you go, guys. So after you're done here, guys and gals, after you're done here on the Elks Call, go hit them up. Go check them out. Canadian Football Central on YouTube or wherever else you have social media. So, Rick, once again, thanks a lot, man. We'll let you get onwards with
Enjoy the rest of your show.
Thanks, man.
And hopefully we will do you guys a favor and beat Winnipeg, and you guys do us a favor and beat Montreal.
Oh, we'll be cheering for you.
The only downside thing is Fajardo's starting.
Oh, I did see that.
I know.
Did see that, but
boo.
Fajardo. that's my mean name too.
Okay, man. We'll let you go. Have a good one, Rick.
See ya.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, man. That was Rick of Ticats Talk Network and the Canadian Football Central podcast. Big shout out to Rick for joining us tonight. Also, a big shout out to you, the viewer, for tuning in or listening. You're tuned into the Elks Call with the Elks Herd on Shotgun Sports Network. Give us a thumbs up, a like, and a subscribe while we're here. If you could help us get to 500, we would greatly appreciate it. We're still trying to give away a signature double E jersey. We're at 194. We're at 194. Let's get to 200. Let's get to 200. Okay, tonight 200. Let's do it. Next up, we have Kathy's Herd Report, where Kathy is going to bring you the latest Edmonton Elks news, transaction, and game breakdown. The Herd Report is brought to you by Off the Reins podcast. No, we're plugging the Forge right now. It's no longer Off the Reins season. No. It is Forge season, and we're not talking Hamilton either. We're talking Birmingham. Ryan Messer has you covered every week on Shotgun Sports Network with the latest in Birmingham, Alabama sports news
There you go.
for John.
All right.
What do you got, Kathy?
Let's do it. Let's do this quick and painless. We have kiddos that need to go to bed. So I'll try to go through this as quick as possible. We all knew what happened last game. Saturday, August 17th, the Edmonton Elks faced the Hamilton Tiger Cats for our third straight win of the season. And of course, this was Larry Thompson's first win as the new owner of the organization. So
congrats to Larry Thompson. He got the game ball.
Yeah.
Huge win.
Yeah. Yeah, good for him. I mean, that's what you want to see when you recently, bought a team. But anyways, let's talk about this first quarter. I don't think this was the start of the game that any of us were expecting. Just seconds into the game, Hamilton fumbled the ball, which was forced by Anderson and recovered by Bratton. However, this play led to a serious injury of Hamilton's Hakuna Vanu. He's okay, right? We saw the notifications that he's okay, but obviously that was a very, very, very scary injury.
Well, that was on like the first or second play of the game.
No, yeah, it was like right away,
right off the
seconds,
top.
right?
You never want to see something like that. It's good to see the class from everybody in the area that had to go through that, and then they did go through a little bit of a delay. We thought it was weather delay. I yelled at you from the door. I'm like, is there a weather delay? No. When somebody gets carted off in an ambulance, they actually have to wait for a second ambulance to arrive. Sometimes they will have the ambulance on standby, and sometimes they won't. And in this case, they did not.
Yeah, so they had to wait for it. And, to be honest, one could say that this would result in Hamilton really going all out to win this one after, an injury like that. But I think it did rattle them a little bit. It rattled them enough to make mistakes throughout the game, just enough for the Elks to capitalize on them.
Yeah.
So once the game was back on, McLeod Bethel Thompson led a successful series of first downs on that first drive, with Justin Rankin rushing down the middle for 4 yards to get a touchdown.
First touchdown of the night.
Yeah. Beatty's kick attempt was good for the additional point. And then, with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left in the quarter, Derek Moncrief intercepted a pass to give the Elks possession of the ball. The drive that followed was long, with 4 first downs and the perfect setup to start the next quarter. And that was a good second quarter.
Yeah, the second quarter was amazing.
25 points. So that the offense definitely did their thing during this quarter. As I mentioned before, the Elks definitely took advantage of Hamilton's mistakes and penalties to move the ball. During that first drive of the quarter, just when we thought that we would have to put the ball away, the Tiger Cats had an offside penalty and gave us a fresh set of downs.
Yeah.
So with that, Javon League found the end zone with, it was like 1 minute and 50 seconds into the quarter or so, and he capped off a 13-play drive, 106 yards, with a 3-yard touchdown. So
huge.
Massive play by Javon League. And of course, we had the extra point from Beatty with the kick. After that, MBT suffered a sack for a loss of 5 yards, but that did not stop them from coming back strong on the next drive.
Yeah.
Rankin added his second of the game less than 7 minutes later after that, and Beatty once again kicked it for the extra point, and then got us another extra point
on the kickoff.
With the kickoff during the kickoff.
And he did that later on too. He did that later on as well.
So after that, Hamilton had another fumble, after the Jake Jolien punt during the next drive, which was forced by Maga Clements and recovered by Dublanco.
Beautiful.
Which is nice because, to be honest, we haven't seen much of Dublanco.
Yeah, crazy to see him out there. Also crazy to see him get the fumble recovery off Tiva Maga Clements. Like that's so freaking huge because we've been waiting for those linebackers to do something. And I think it's just that they've been getting underutilized. They have not been put into the right spots to make the plays,
Yeah. No, 100%. It was a really, really nice play to watch. And that allowed Bethel Thompson to cap off the majors with an 11-yard pass to Dylan Mitchell for yet another touchdown. We also had another good kick by Beatty for the extra point. Right at the end of the second, MBT went down for a sack from from a sack for a loss of 4 yards. But Beatty's 32-yard field goal at 40 minutes and 36 seconds of the second staked Edmonton to a commanding 32-3 halftime lead.
32-3. So you thought the game was over at halftime, and
it's crazy.
we haven't had that in so long.
I actually have a little stat on that I saw on X. The last time that the Double E were up by at least 29 points at halftime was in October 13, 2014 Thanksgiving game against Winnipeg.
10 years. 2014? It's not 2018?
No, well, I saw that it was 2014.
Oh, okay. So it's 2014 for up by at least 29.
Yeah.
And then 3-game win streak.
Oh,
2018.
that's 2018.
Yeah,
this is. Yeah, but still crazy. Like, you're watching this and you're like, what game am I watching?
Yeah.
It's at the end of the game. It's only halftime. So, but then we went into that third quarter, which was a 0-scoring quarter for the Elks, which is always
I feel like we've been here before with this third quarter talk.
I know. We were out of it for a little bit and then moved to the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But now it seems like maybe we're back a little bit. And you never know how things will go, even with such a considerable lead. I mean, you still have half the game left. You don't know how that's going to go.
Well, and Hamilton got that one.
Yeah.
And you go, here they go. Here we go.
Did. And you know what? And we also had a couple of penalties that, of course, cost us some yards. And in one instance, a touchdown. Yep. They didn't get the 2-point convert, though. So that was good. However, Cordell Jackson did have an interception in this quarter, which returned the ball 29 yards to the Edmonton 24. We didn't quite capitalize on that opportunity, so we let Hamilton score another touchdown and an extra point. So that was, the defense was tired for sure after this one, and they definitely allowed a lot of yards.
Way too many yards. Way too many yards. Like, you got to clean that up.
Yep. And the fourth quarter, it was great as well for the Elks. We had another really good quarter. They scored 15 points in total, so it brought us to the final score of 47-22.
Yeah.
You know, the last 10 minutes of the game were exciting. You know, that's with Justin Rankin scoring a hattie here.
Hat trick. Where's
hat trick?
Wait, no, wait.
Oh, there you go. And of course, another BD kick attempt. Good. You know, and I think we were feeling pretty good at this point. We were all like, okay, yeah, we got it. But a couple of drives later, Tevin Jones returned the ball 37 yards to the 7th-yard line, which led to a clean pass from MET to Kittens Jr. for another touchdown. And of course, BD did his thing again with a convert kick and another point, single point for the Rouge.
Canada's favorite point.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, BD, it's funny. So, for whatever reason, I don't know why I didn't think ensuing kickoff, and I'm just tweeting or posting like crazy, like a madman, because I'm so excited. Like, I haven't seen a 3-game win streak, since 2018, right? Like, this team has been rotten. So, to see them finally show signs of turning a corner now, this is why we had Rick on. Is because Hamilton shot themselves in the foot on that game.
For sure. I mean, if it wasn't for
we've been there.
It was,
how many times have we been there?
There's a lot to say with the fact that it was their mistakes that led us to that result. That it wasn't so much the performance of the Elks, but their mistakes that brought us there. And of course, you know, talking about the bad, we have the third quarter. You know, they have not scored a point in the third quarter in the last 4 games. What's going on? You know, wind did play a factor in Hamilton, but really they still need to do a really deep dive into why they can't establish a momentum on that offensive line during those third quarters.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. We've seen it game after game, right? So it is very, very frustrating to see them like have those same old struggles of Edmonton Elks 2022, 2023. Sometimes they still have flashes of that. And that is very, very frustrating.
Yeah. It's like, what happens? What happens during halftime? That they lose focus? Maybe they were a little overconfident. What happened there that they needed a little bit of a pushback to get back into the rhythm, right?
Yeah.
That being said, there were some really, really good points in this game. I mean, the green and gold forced 4 turnovers in the game. which of course set the table for a Russian offense that has really found its stride in the recent weeks. 2 interceptions, 2 fumble recoveries.
Yeah.
But at the same time, is it, Hamilton's mistakes rather than our efforts?
Yeah, and I mean, you still have to be good enough to capitalize, right?
Yeah.
So, and there were moments in that third where you're like, "Come on, guys, do
Mhm.
something! Come on, do something, make it happen, get a touchdown, just score." So you take the wind out of their sails.
Yeah.
But once again, like you said, a factor in that game was the fact that they were throwing against the wind.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they
wind
got the
was a
wind.
factor.
They got the wind in the fourth, though.
Yes.
So as soon as they had the wind in their sails, literally and
That was
figuratively,
good.
they got it down the field.
Yes. And it was a redemption game for McLeod Bethel Thompson. He threw 234 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, and his first win as starter quarterback.
It's the MBT revenge tour. Okay, it is his revenge tour. I like it, and now he goes to Montreal.
A little confident.
Chip on his shoulder. He's
Just a
still
little bit.
playing with a chip on his shoulder. Imagine you had a whole stadium yelling for the other quarterback.
Yeah, that
And
would have. Yeah, that's.
Now you get to prove everybody wrong.
It's a little embarrassing.
Sinjin here in the herd chat. Momentum in football changes hands very quickly, and even more here in the CFL. Totally.
Mhm.
It's that's the name of the game up here, right?
Yeah, we see it all the time. As soon as the other team gets a little bit of momentum, we're like, "Oh, we're screwed."
We crumble a bit,
Mhm.
but we didn't completely fall apart.
We
in this
came
last
back.
game.
We came back. But let's talk about Justin Rankin. He was a wrecking ball. He, 108 yards, 17 carries, 3 scores. He just dominated.
He did, yeah.
It's definitely player of the game. He was an absolute beast during this game.
3 touchdowns. He gets
Mhm.
himself a good old Canadian hat trick.
Mhm.
And to think that we cut Justin Rankin, because earlier in the year we were, I don't want to say pig-headed, but just that dead set on Kevin Brown, him at running back.
Mhm.
And like I've said on previous episodes, it's about play style. Javon Leake is good with this team because he does that bounce.
Mhm.
Justin Rankin, big, well,
Oh, he pushed.
he was grabbing guys and throwing them on the ground as he's
Stiff arming.
Oh,
like
it was
3 of them.
so physical.
It was
so
so
physical, right? Like
It was great to see.
he was completely bought into the plan.
Mhm.
And this is what happens when guys buy into the plan.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, not everybody was buying in. But when you watch that first play, you watch that first drive, and you see these guys hitting to injure. And we don't cheer for injuries. I'll tell you right now, we don't cheer for injuries, but we do cheer when our team actually hits like football players.
How many times have I screamed at the TV or, lightly just said at the TV that my 6-year-old could tackle better than what we see, right? I was dying to see some place like that they were actually playing, they were tackling, they meant it.
And you've even said on this show, right? That your 6-year-old can hit harder. So yeah, I mean it's very, very true.
I mean, I've been tackled by my 6-year-old, and that was hard, and it looked harder than some of the things that I've seen on the field. So, but that being said, also Beatty, he added 6 converts, field goal, 2 singles. He had himself a good game.
Yeah.
Good for him, because we've seen some really bad ones from him as well. So
yeah, he's having a comeback performance now after Chris Jones is gone.
Mm-hmm. And of course, a key stat in the game was Edmonton scoring touchdowns in all 6 possessions in the red zone.
Yeah, so and by the way, that's a stat that the Edmonton Elks are number 1 in, I believe, is in red zone conversions, converting in the red zone.
It's crazy. But let's go here in the chat. We do have a question from Calvin here. Thoughts on keeping MBT until the win streak ends?
I don't know if that's going to happen. Now we'll see what happens this weekend. We'll see what happens with Montreal, and we're going to actually get to this, I believe, in the fan forum. I think we touch on it, or we touch on it in the rest of the herd report here. But we'll give you our thoughts on that in a minute. Immediate answer, I think yes. In one way, yeah. I mean, you play the hot hand, but Trey Ford is declared starter, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
We do touch on it a little bit more.
It'll be interesting. And just another comment over here by Sinjin. Rankin single-handedly got me lunch via the free Carlsberger. You know what? The game before that Ford got us that.
Yeah, at
the
home
same one.
we lost,
Yeah.
but free burgers. I mean, we started cheering for free burgers in Commonwealth Stadium. That was before we got our most recent home win. Okay, that's
I was like, thank you, Ford.
just thanks.
Thank you, Ford.
You got to find things to cheer for sometimes as an Edmonton Elks fan.
Yes.
We're past that point now. I can
Yeah.
say that we're past that, but you always got to cheer for those free burgies from Carl's J.
Love it. They must not be loving it.
No, I did comment online. I'm like, yeah, Carl's J is probably hating this promotion right now, cleaning them out.
Yes. But let's see. Transactions. On August 19th, we signed national defensive lineman Daniel Joseph. He had a stint with the Bills in the NFL and with Seattle in the XFL. And he was released by the Lions before camp and played 2 games last month for the Argos.
Yeah.
So
we'll take him.
We'll take him. Injuries.
Oof.
Now, here we do have a few injuries. It's still early in the week, so some of these might change by the end of the week, but we're not sure. First one is, of course, Trey Ford. He had limited participation due to his chest injury. He is most likely to be out against the Alouettes. So we most likely will see MBT in the next one. And I think whether, for my answer on that, whether he starts or not is really going to depend on how he does in the next game.
Well,
So
for Labor Day?
Yeah.
I foresee Trey Ford starting.
Probably. I mean, that's good for people, but we'll see. Phil Grohovac did not participate due to a chest injury. Javon Leake, he had limited participation due to a hip injury. Jamin Pelly had limited participation, but that was non-football related, so he is okay. Purifoy had limited participation due to a thigh injury, and Jake Taylor did not participate due to a head injury.
Yeah, Purifoy's thighs must be hurting from carrying that set of... You saw that hit in that last game. Purifoy is just a beast, okay?
I did see that hit. And I mean, the good thing here is that we're not seeing out. It's limited participation, did not participate, so still could change in the next couple of days. So keep an eye on the Elks website and their updates on their injuries.
Yeah, I do think that probably 50% of that list we're going to see not playing for the next game.
Not, but we'll see. So what's next? The next game is August 25th, which is a Sunday, against Montreal Alouettes at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. What do you think for that game?
Okay, game preview. Elks versus Alouettes. It's an away game for the Edmonton Elks. Percival Molson Stadium. Going to be a beautiful night. Retro night. They're bringing back these retro jerseys. So the Montreal Alouettes are actually bringing in a really nice retro. It's going to be the exact same jersey that they wore when they defeated the Edmonton then Eskimos 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be so cool.
That's cool.
It'll be like, I wish we were wearing something retro that night. But at the same time, I'll take whatever is fresh and gets us a win.
You looked at me like, do we have something? Like,
no, we don't.
We don't. Something?
No, we don't. We don't. But as far as a score prediction, I'm gonna play Homer. I'm gonna say 23-20. 23-20. I think we win by a field goal. I think we win by a field goal. I think we return the favor, much like we just did to the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to also return the favor over to Montreal. But if we don't win, it's going to be a 23-20 loss. I'm 30% confident on my prediction. So that should tell you 30%. It's not that we can't. It's this team has to lose at some point. Yeah. And if you're going to start a new streak, you start at Labor Day.
Well, and think about the last game that we had against Montreal. We were pretty close.
We were really close. I think that this team can. And once we're gonna get into it. Hold up, let me if we just go check to see if I
what
did
the
indeed.
questions are?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. Oh, so yeah, so I asked that right there.
Okay.
I asked that right
So
there.
we'll talk about it.
Everybody tune in for the fan forum. It's going to be in around 5 to 10 minutes. We're going to be there right away. We
5
do
minutes.
5 minutes.
Yes, less than that.
Was there anything else you need to?
No, that is it. That is it. We will see how that game goes, and now we move on to
The Edmonton sports update. Always a great time. Today's sports update is brought to you by Herdy's. For 2 weeks in a row, Herdy's has sold out of their famous smoked meats. This time, our signature pork belly slider selling out well before game time. Expect us to push it with our traditional salt and pepper wings at the Labor Day rematch on September 7th. No smoke. No smoke. Herdy's. We smoke the meats. It's not at the next home game. Your 3-7 Edmonton Elks are facing the 9-1 Montreal Alouettes on Saturday night at Percival Molson Stadium. Sunday night at Percival Molson Stadium as they look to go on a 4-game winning streak, while Montreal is currently on a 5-game winning streak. Kickoff is at 5 p.m. Mountain. The Edmonton Oilers have lost Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg to the St. Louis Blues via offer sheet. Preseason hockey is just a month away. The Edmonton Riverhawks have 4 players being named to the All-Star list. Jacob Paternak, Bacardi Domingo, Hale and Knoll have all made the all-team first, all first team, while Tyler Jans made it to the second team. Congratulations, all WCL. For more on the Edmonton sports scene, check out our weekly sports articles on shotgunsportsnetwork.ca. Where the Elks are. You're up to date. Oh, yes, and thank you, John. Cody Ceci is also now a Shark, a San Jose Shark. So
I'm okay with that.
Oilers switching it up, trying to go for that Stanley Cup.
We
It's
don't
gonna be a
need
big
any more
season.
CC nurse tandems. Anyway,
You are getting salty here, and we still got a little bit of chat to go here. This is our commercial break, so we thank you for supporting the network by clicking our affiliated links, which can be found in the description. We're a self-funded media company at Shotgun Sports Network, so we thank you for shopping with Shotgun. If you're going to go get a throwback jersey, you know where to go, royalretros.com. Code Shotgun Sports, all caps, no spaces. They're the throwback kings. There's nobody that makes a better throwback than Royal Retros. They got a green and gold Warren Moon inspired jersey there. It's they're the best. They're the best. Can't wait to place another order with those guys. If you want to save 10%, it's code Shotgun Sports, all caps, no spaces. And then Fanatics, you all know Fanatics. We all know Fanatics. Everybody knows Fanatics. If you're going to shop over at Fanatics, make sure you use our link. So then that way you're supporting the network. Shop Fanatics with Shotgun Sports. This is the deodorant that never ends. Lather deodorant.
still going.
I jammed some on before I went golfing yesterday morning, and I stayed relatively fresh. Relatively fresh in the hot sun over at the ranch, who I saw a friend of EST Murray McCord over there. So always good stuff. But we're not here to advertise the ranch. We're here to advertise lather because that's what saved my bacon all day. I did not smell bad at all. I never do. Unless I forget to put on the lather. So, guys, go check it out. Lather without the E, LATHR.com. 20% off. Code Shotgun Sports Network. Oh, sorry. Code Shotgun Sports 20. Shotgun Sports 20, all caps, no spaces. Smell damn good with lather. All right. It is the best segment. John, I see you in the herd chat asking about the phone charger stand. We'll talk about it in the fan forum because now we got to open it up.
Yes.
Let's open it up. Today's fan forum is brought to you by the Rouge, White, and Blue podcast. Americans Talking Football. Oz and Joe can be seen on Shotgun Sports Network, bringing their audibles to your screens. Everyone's favorite point, white and blue.
Oh, I thought oh no, that's Canadians' favorite point is the rouge.
Yes, but it is rouge, white, and blue.
Yes.
So it's everybody's.
It's everywhere.
If you're watching this,
It's
you're a fan of the
everybody's.
rouge.
Yeah.
Canada's favorite point, white and blue, but everybody's. We are opening up the fan forum right now. In this segment, we talk about hot topics surrounding the Edmonton Elks and the CFL as a whole. Blow up that herd chat, and we will get your comments onto the show. Get in on this with us. Chat some football, guys. Let's do it. All right. Question number 1, which is something that we've already been talking about here as a group tonight. The upcoming game against Montreal is very important for the Edmonton Elks as they work their way towards a 500 record, which could very well mean playoffs. Should fans look at this upcoming game against Montreal as a scheduled loss, or can we say the Elks are good enough to get this win? Her chat, what do you think? Let us know, Kathy.
I think they can win it.
You think they can win it? Like it's not a scheduled loss.
No.
Would
no,
you
I
say?
think I think they can win it. I just hope that Montreal makes mistakes.
Would you say that this is a scheduled loss 5 weeks ago?
I don't know. See, that's the thing. We started the season strong in many ways.
Right.
That we were playing really well. You know, we were super, super close to a lot of those in a lot of those games to a win. Like 4 of them within a field goal. Right. And we have cleaned it up ourselves. We have had less penalties. You know, our offense is doing a lot better, especially
Right.
we saw it with Trey Ford, but even this last game with MBT, they were doing a lot better. Our defense can perform if they're not overly tired and they really commit to it. Right. So I feel like parts are starting to click. And if we didn't have those parts clicking at the beginning of the season where we were really close, why couldn't we do it again? And now this time take it even further.
Yeah, interesting. Really, really interesting. And I think you are right. I think there is something that started clicking there. I will also say though that 5 weeks ago, this was a scheduled loss. Even when I jumped on the hangout there a couple weeks ago, we were talking about this as a scheduled loss. So it's hard to look at this game differently. But I will say now that we're here, now that we're on a 3-game win streak, sure.
But I mean, it
sure.
really...
Last win was a little bit cheesy in the sense of Hamilton shot themselves really good.
I think there's always going to be teams that you look at and you're like, oh yeah, that's going to be a really difficult team to beat. And yes, perhaps 5 weeks ago that we were not in the place that we are right now. I could have seen that as I'm not going to have any expectations for this one whatsoever.
Yeah.
But I think for now, for this one, for the game this Sunday, we have expectations.
Yeah.
We can have expectations.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy to have expectations? Oh, this team better win this weekend. Mm-hmm. We've said that in reference to this team more than likely losing. And us praying that we get it back together, right?
Yeah.
No longer are we doing that. No longer are we saying these words with that kind of sentiment behind it. Now we're saying, let's get the win this weekend. I hope the team can win so we can continue our win streak. Right. Since when have we said that as Edmonton Elks fans, right? It's a blessing just to be here. I'll tell you that. Yeah. I'll tell you that right now.
And I mean, just as Steve says here, Montreal hasn't been playing well the past few games. Edmonton is on a roll and has nothing to lose.
Edmonton has nothing to lose. Cody Fajardo is in. Mm-hmm. Cody Fajardo in for Davis Alexander. Mm-hmm. I thought Davis Alexander was doing fine. This kind of goes back to that question earlier. Do you ride the hot hand? Do you keep playing MBT until the streak ends? Well, take a look at what Montreal's doing right now. They're in the middle of a 9-game streak and they're bringing back their starter. Mm-hmm. Because what happens when Cody Fajardo gets injured again? Yeah. Right? What happens if your backup gets injured? Cody Fajardo re-aggravates his injury, and now all of a sudden they have no quarterback.
Yeah.
So same deal with this, right? We're going to bring our starter back, Trey Ford, after this Montreal game. Mm-hmm. MBT revenge tour. So yes, the Elks are good enough to get the win. I think they're good enough to get the win. 5 weeks ago, you asked me this question. No, there's no way. This team does not get the win. Mm-hmm. It's a scheduled loss. put the X on the calendar and move along, right? Andrea, I did see your comment there. We'll mention it on the show here in just a minute. We'll get through the fan forum here before we advertise those tickets. But it's this team has now done it. This team has given people a reason to cheer. No longer is this a team that's going to be trampled on. And what is also nice is the fact that MBT has said multiple times in the year, you know, nobody wants to play us. This is a tough team to play. We're right there. We're a scary good team. We've had smoke blown up our you-know-whats for a hot minute now when it comes to Trevor Harris. Even going back to Trevor Harris, talking about, yeah, we're a good team. Yeah, we're good. Yeah. And then we traded him away, which... you know, dicey, but we've heard those kind of statements about a losing team going all the way back to 2021. You came in as an Elks fan, not an Eskimos fan. You've never seen an Eskimos game.
No.
You've only seen Edmonton Elks games, and you've watched futility. You've watched a really shitty product for the last 3 years. Excuse my French for any kids that are listening or watching, but you've watched a pretty brutal product for the last while. This is the first time you, as an Edmonton Elks fan, can have expectations. You're used to the other major club here in Edmonton giving you lots of things to cheer about. But for some reason, you haven't gotten it at Commonwealth Stadium.
Yeah, no, we might see it. I don't think there's anything wrong with being optimistic about this one because anything could happen. They could have an off night. Maybe they're the ones getting all the penalties the next game. Maybe the Elks really bring it that they're, there's no need for any of that. So
you take a look at pressure too. This team has had the biggest gorilla on their back in the name of losing streaks.
Yeah.
Right? Seriously.
Yeah.
This team has had the most amount of pressure. Right now, the Edmonton Elks in this game, nothing to lose. They don't have anything to lose except for, obviously injuries and players. But in the grand scheme,
they can go all out.
Zero pressure for them to perform. Why? Because they have Labor Day coming up. Any coach is going to tell you, look, we don't put one foot in front of the other here. We're focused on this week. We're focused on Montreal. Bullshit. They're going to be preparing for that Labor Day. As soon as they get on the plane, they're preparing for the Calgary Stampeders. And those 2 points / 4 points are way more important to the Edmonton Elks than this game coming up. I think they're good enough to win. I think they can win. Do I think they'll win? Well, 30% confident in that score, right?
30%.
If they get the win, the party is on in Edmonton, and we're off to Calgary.
Yeah.
So that imagine if the Edmonton Elks get the win over the Grey Cup champs.
Love it.
All of a sudden, this team is a team to beat.
Yeah.
And maybe even in the West, Nathan Rourke, brutal performance, right? How about we talk about that? All right, final question here, guys. We're on to the last question of the fan forum. Once again, we see the herd chat rolling. Keep it going for this last question here, because this is a big one. This is actually about the CFL. So this is about our CFL quarterbacks. The quarterback landscape of the CFL has changed drastically in a matter of weeks, with Nathan Rourke and Chad Kelly returning to their respective teams. So, with that being said, do you think the BC Lions and the Toronto Argonauts are Grey Cup favorites? Why or why not? Herd chat, what do you guys think? Kathy, what do you got?
I don't think that Argos are. Toronto?
You don't think they're you don't think they're Grey Cup favorites?
No. Montreal for sure.
Okay.
Montreal Alouettes. And right now with the return of Nathan Rourke, I know he had a really off game, but at the same time he was thrown in cold. After you mentioned it before, knowing 4 different playbooks and just being kind of tossed around from team to team, from going from 4 down touchdown to 3 down touchdown. Football. Wow.
3 down football. 3 down football.
You know what I mean.
I got
it's
you, babe.
Late. But anyways, he's just been going around. He's being tossed around, different rules. He has to get used to it again. And I think that was the main reason why I asked whether he was going to be put in as a starter right away. Because in my opinion, that seems a little sudden.
Yeah.
Because he has zero chemistry with the team. He doesn't know who's what, who's playing, where's what, right? He's been away for a little bit. So I felt like he needed a little bit more practice time for him to get his footing back into the game, into the team, into the BC Lions. right? So I still think that they have a really good opportunity to go far this season, and I think they are Grey Cup favorites
So
for sure.
BC in the West,
BC
Montreal
in the
in
West,
the East.
Montreal in the East.
Okay. No, and that's fair. The reason why I asked is because Chad Kelly coming in, and we say this often in the CFL, the season starts at Labor Day.
Mhm.
The season starts at Labor Day.
Yeah,
So
Rick said it too.
Exactly, yeah, Rick said it too. So the BC Lions have gotten their finalized roster pretty much as close to perfect as they can get, hopefully. And they're throwing a Hail Mary to rescue the home Grey Cup. They are throwing a Hail Mary at this. They're doing absolutely everything they can, right? So good for them. I do think it's BC in the West. I think that Montreal, just like every other team, can go on a slide. I think they can go on a slide. Will they?
We'll see. They've
Hard
been
to say.
playing really well.
But you take a look at the Chad Kelly scenario, and it's a lot different than the Nathan Rourke scenario, because Chad Kelly comes in practicing basically already. He already has the chemistry. There's nothing that's changed. It's the same playbook. He opened up the season preparing with this team. So it's more like his season was paused, whereas Nathan Rourke has been everywhere, man.
Even then, we'll see. I mean, with the whole Chad Kelly situation, I think we've heard this before, that football is a very mental game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So, and even though he has been practicing, even though he has been doing all the things that he needs to do, that's still away from the limelight, right? That's still away from the public. We don't know how everybody's going to react to Chad Kelly being back on that field. We really don't know what happens if suddenly he goes into that field and he's just faced with like a lot of negative, feedback from fans, from, other teams, whatever it may be. Like, that could really mess somebody up in their game.
I think it can, because Chad Kelly, you take a look at that last game that he played, that playoff game, where he absolutely flopped. I don't know if he was making secret bets and through that game, like he looked really bad in it. But what were the odds that all of this stuff that just recently happened with him, it was still going on then? It was still going on then, that investigation, the things that were investigated on his offense was actually happening at around that time. So you take a look at it, and you take a look at his performance, and you can find the parallels, you can find the correlations, and that is a really good point that you made.
There's no guarantee that he's still going to be a good quarterback when he comes back, right?
No.
We don't know. We really don't know. We won't see until we see it. And even then, how does something like that affect everybody in the locker room?
Yeah.
Are his teammates okay with him coming back?
Yeah.
Is this going to create tension in the locker room that translates to tensions in the field, right?
Well, it could.
I feel like there's a lot of what ifs in that situation that you can't be sure 100% what's going to happen. And that's one of the main reasons why I don't even consider Toronto to really be a contender, because you don't even know how that's going to go. You don't know how half of the season is going to go.
So Ottawa or Toronto then?
For the East?
Like, who's going to make it higher in the standings? Who's going to make it to that second spot? Home playoff. That's a good question right now. Home playoff. So who's the other two home playoff games?
Yeah.
Who is it?
I don't know. Probably probably
Elks
Toronto.
Elks in the West. Elks in the West.
Well, Saskatchewan's doing really well, dude.
Elks in the West. And then Ottawa in the East. I actually think it's going to be Ottawa for the other. I think they're the other. Yeah, they're the other spot, I think. I think Chad Kelly coming in does move the needle, but Ottawa is playing some really weird football over there, and they're looking good. They kicked our derriers a couple times. So, and I mean, Ottawa did it in convincing fashion.
Look at last year. Look at Montreal last year. They were the underdogs. Nobody saw that coming, and then suddenly, boom.
And that's what Ottawa's doing this year.
Right. So
Montreal is basically Toronto of last year.
Yeah.
Right? They're Toronto from last year. That's what the Montreal Alouettes are doing right now. And just you watch. It's any given Sunday.
Yeah.
So
you never know.
all
never know.
Alouettes are the Grey Cup favorites right now.
Mhm.
Same deal with BC Lions. I think the West is anybody's game. I don't think there's even going to be a crossover, John. I think that the West sucks way too much for us to even get the cross. I'm not even joking. I don't think I think all of those teams in the East right now are playing such good football
Mhm.
that they're going to maintain their 3 going into the Eastern playoff.
Mhm.
Now we did have a couple comments here in the Her Chat. Andrea is asking if anybody is interested for the Labor Day rematch for her tickets and the tailgate ticket as well. So Section K Labor Day rematch down here, Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. Swing on by, and if you don't have tickets, Andrea is selling a tailgate ticket as well as 2 seats. So yeah, guys, let us know at the Elks Herd if you'd like to get a hold of Andrea for those tickets.
Mhm.
See, this goes into the trading post. I so wanted. We didn't even do the trading
I
post
know.
this year.
Next year.
Oh
We'll
no,
see.
we'll just do it.
We'll see.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
We got 2 signed pictures here, right here,
We do. I
that
keep
we are
forgetting about
actually
that.
trying to sell. Ricky Ray signed and Henry Gizmo Williams.
Mhm.
Very cool pieces. They are framed memorabilia pieces, and we do have prices. You can head on over to shotgunsportsnetwork.ca to find at least one of those. I think it's a Gizmo we have up, right? Not the or the Ricky
Yeah,
Ray.
yeah.
Is it Gizmo?
Yeah, it is the Gizmo.
Do
But
signed Ricky Ray and Gizmo pictures.
are you guys excited for the Jonas Brothers at halftime at the Grey Cup?
No, I personally don't care. My sisters were big Jonas Brothers fans, and I'm usually out in the concourses at halftime.
I'll watch it.
There you go. Kathy's in.
Like, listen, as long as it's not country, I will listen to anything.
Kathy, what do you think of the charging stand I picked up?
I think it's taking a lot of my garage space. But that's what I think of it.
Waiting on that.
It's cool. No, I like it. I think it's a really cool piece. I definitely want him to fix it, make sure that it's fixed, and I would have put it on my driveway and charge for people to charge their phones. So
It's like the 3rd time I've heard that. You need to start charging people for this. It's like, well, it is anything One Empire branded. I gotta have it. I can't help it. I see One Empire branding and I gotta buy it. And I mean, I was unloading it and it ran away on me. And I think maybe that's also why my back is messed up right now. Is it threw me off the truck? Did I even tell you about that?
No.
Like it actually threw me off the truck.
Oh,
like it ran. And because of the way that it bucked, I had to do the one hand let go and then 2, and then I went over the side of the truck and went into the dirt.
It's a big piece.
It's hefty. It's so cool. Got to get the One Empire commercial. I think that's a little computer on the back of it. So
yeah,
I got my work cut out for me.
Literally in the middle of my garage. But
so cool though. It's so cool. One Empire charging stand. I'm sorry.
Last question over here.
It was $100. It was $100.
Yeah, no,
okay.
It was worth it. Are you guys going to Calgary? And are you flying or driving? Are the kids coming? Unfortunately, we are not.
We are not going to Calgary this year for the Labor Day Classic. I would love to. I love the Labor Day series. It's one of my favorites. But unfortunately, it's not in the plans. And it's been a really busy summer. It feels like we didn't even get a summer this year. I honestly feel like we got zero.
Listen,
summer.
I'm gonna have a garage sale that weekend, and maybe a certain stand will be up there.
You can plug it in, charge for free over at HQ2 TEH
I'm not allowed to sell it.
HQ2.
I'm not allowed to sell it.
Oh, so funny, so funny. No, you can't sell it. You will not be selling it. We can go ahead and we can let people charge up though, and it would be nice to have it functioning for your garage sales. So maybe we'll work on that. We'll see. Other than that, I do agree with John here. Labor Day should go back and forth. That was a question we had before on the fan forum, I believe. Should we go back and forth with Labor Day and the rivalry series every year?
Why not?
We asked it last year, this time.
Yeah, and I think that's what we said. It's like, why not?
Why not?
I don't understand why it has to be a certain way, especially for that. I mean, if it's tied to some sort of tradition or something, I could see it. But
it kind of is, yeah. But
yeah,
Goes back 100 years.
Okay, then maybe.
No,
say
but
that.
as far as like this home and home thing,
Yeah.
no, that doesn't go back on. I think the Labor Day rivalry series, I think that seriously became a thing like the 90s.
Right.
So,
But that's all it is, right? There's nothing tied to a specific location to a specific date.
yeah, because Banjo Bowl is always in Winnipeg.
Right.
The Labor Day Classic is always in
It's always,
Saskatchewan.
yeah.
It's a
Maybe
weird
it's-
little
maybe it's just
CFL tradition thing.
Tradition. It's just tradition. You don't mess with tradition. So
Yeah, and the the billboards, the Yeehaw billboard and all that. Very, very fun. So there's gonna be some good chirping. I can't wait to get to the Labor Day series. But first, we got Montreal to take care of first. Edmonton Elks.
that comes next.
23-20 win is the prediction from Section X over here at the Elks herd. We're going to get to our last comment here. Do you know October 25th, Friday, is the last Elks home game? Oilers are doing their Hall of Fame game at the same time at Rogers Place. One starts at 7, one starts at 7:30. Really, we just went through a Stanley Cup Finals. I don't think that when you see what a Stanley Cup Finals and what a long Stanley Cup run does to the Edmonton Elks, nothing else shocks you or surprises you.
Yeah, it won't be. Yeah,
that was like it's their home opener, 75th home
was
opener.
sad.
Warren Moon is in the house and
it was still sad.
depressing because obviously there's a greater good in town.
Mm-hmm.
So, and once again, hey, the Edmonton Oilers 110% deserve all that attention. I just wish it didn't affect the attendance. That's all.
Yeah. I'm still hockeyed out, so I'm okay. Not
guess what? Month away from preseason. Hockey is right around the corner. Still football season. No October baseball if you're a Blue Jays fan because the Blue Jays suck. Joey Votto retired today, so that's rather disappointing. But hey, we're getting into other sports now, which means we've made it to the end of our Edmonton Elks talk over here at the Elks herd. The Elks call is going to wrap up here momentarily. Guys, thank you so much. It's all the time we have for today. Rick, shout out to Rick. Shout out to Carter, too, over at the Canadian Football Central podcast. Those guys are awesome. Once again, once you're done here, if you want some more CFL viewing, go check out Canadian Football Central. Those guys are crushing it. They break it down for every team, too. So I have a feeling we're going to be over there a little bit more often going forward. Try to give them some Elks deets, and that's how we get some of our news too. So once again, Rick, awesome guy, great seeing him. How about you, the viewer? Great seeing and chatting with you guys as well. This has been fantastic. Herd chat was great tonight. We really appreciate everybody swinging into the Elks call, whether you're watching on YouTube, which is Shotgun Sports Network, or on Facebook at the Elks herd, or listening on TuneIn, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Edmonton Sports Talk, or wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the show tonight. Hey, thank you, Steve. Great timing on that. Really appreciate seeing you out there tonight in the herd chat. Once again, like and subscribe if you like this, guys and gals. Once again, my name is Scout, a.k.a. the Rep from Section X.
And I'm Catherine, a.k.a. Do You Even Elks?
We are the Elks herd. This was the Elks call, and we will see everybody on the next episode, hopefully with a 4 in a row in the pocket.
Let's get it.
Cheers, everybody. Go Elks.
Good night.